So, welcome. I'd like to welcome you all. Today is Thursday, March 7th, 2019. And I am delighted to be with Dr. Naheed Mokhtari. I'm saying your name correctly, right?
Absolutely.
And this is a first step in an exploration of ways to better communicate about heart resonance. So I'm inviting people in a series of interviews that I'm calling right now Journeys of the Heart, Explorations in Heart Resonance, to get different vantage points of the process that we have been sharing in our weekly heart resonance circles of global heart resonance, so that we are better able to communicate, to share about this process with others. So I'm very happy to have Naheed here today. Welcome, Naheed.
Thank you, dear.
And so Naheed, or Dr. Mokhtari, has just a very interesting story, and I'm really delighted and opening to as much to learn about her journey. So I'm going to read a little from Naheed's biography, bio. It's not a short snippet. And so it begins with her objective is to be a bridge between the mystical wisdom of our past and the science, medicine, and power of the present. Dr. Mokhtari is a rare blend of scientist, professor, and visionary with the ability to speak to our minds while releasing the wisdom of our hearts. Over the last 20 years, Dr. Mokhtari has blended the scientific and spiritual aspects of her understanding to be an active international workshop leader, lecturer, educator of the heart, and a conscious evolutionary. Dr. Mokhtari is the founder of the Foundation for the Education of the Heart and the Center of Awareness of the Heart in Tehran, Iran. Producer and host of TV shows called Awakening the Heart and The Age of Awakening. And her recent focus is awakening Sham's consciousness, which I will ask her a little more about in this interview. And captivating audiences of all ages, Dr. Mokhtari's synthesis of science, mysticism, and psychology is a tribute to the enduring qualities of our souls with a timely message of hope and possibility. So welcome, Naheed. It's a pleasure to have you here this morning. And especially kind of a pleasure to begin with kind of a mystical perspective, or at least part of a mystical perspective, which opens, I think, to the wholeness of life, which is part. We are both members are connected with Good of the Whole, which is an organism, an organization that is dedicated to cultivating an ethos or culture of wholeness on our planet at this time. So Naheed, welcome, and not sure exactly where to begin, but maybe just to share a little about how and when your journey of the heart began. I know that that you're blending, that you started as a scientist or in the sciences. And so anyway, maybe just introduce yourself a little bit and your journey to becoming an educator, as you describe yourself, an educator of the heart. So.
Thank you, Henry, for the invitation and for the opportunity. Both is an honor to create this creative play together. You ask when the journey to the heart started. I left Iran in 87, so 32 years ago. I was teaching physiology and biochemistry at the time when I left. I came for a conference and I didn't go back. I decided to stay. And in that loneliness, being far from the environment that I was familiar with, my friends, my family, my culture, my language, you know, the music, everything, the air that I was breathing. So it was feeling empty inside and deeply being lonely got my attention to pay attention to what was happening with me. Excuse me. So it's like I got to a point in life that there was no choice but to face the pain of emptiness and loneliness in my own heart. I realized I always have had that, but I've been masking it with, you know, with being with others, doing other things, you know, and just not creating that a space to be with myself, even though, I mean, I've been somehow meditating since I've been 14, 15, when I didn't have even a clue what meditation is. But I learned to do it technically from the age, maybe over 40 years ago. But even though I had those glimpses of the silence in meditation and connecting to the pain and then seeing the other aspect of it, seeing the glimpses of the ecstasy and the joy and the expansion. But this time it was a different story. I had nobody, you know, to talk to or spend my time and cover up everything. So I had to deal with that. So my prayer were answered. I was sitting, being with Dad, and I was praying to heal this. And I remember I was feeling that it's like I am half a person. I left half of me, my past, in my culture, my country, my education, everything. And then now I'm pretending that I'm whole and complete. It was all pretense. I wasn't. So I had to pay attention to that other half, that it was empty. In the answer of my prayer, somebody showed up, a being who had a knowledge of science and already have stepped into the heart space and hold my hand to make it more gentle. I call it in my teaching gentle phoenix. It is, even though this is a very personal experience, but I have to say, we need another one to hold a space for us to go through that, the depth of the pain and the hurts, to come out of it. And I would call this, by the way, loving. When we create a space for ourselves to go where it hurts and is painful, is really bringing the application of loving into that hurt place. I call that loving. Either I do it for me, I didn't know how to do it, so somebody else showed up to teach me that. And then I learned how to do it for others. And for doing that in between, I learned how to do it for me. Thank you for asking that question.
Beautiful. Thank you, Nahid. Yeah, and yeah, the journey to the heart is so beautiful. I guess it comes through that emptiness, or maybe pain that we may feel at different times, that that calls us to seek something deeper, something truer. So one of the things that you were expressing, I see also that you, as a medical, as the scientist and researcher, that you were at one point exploring what kind of the causes of pain and how to ease that pain. And then you made a discovery that seems to be connected with what you just shared about another kind of pain that you were expressing. Do you want to say a little bit more about that?
Well, when we talk about pain, we usually talk about the physical pain. I've learned that when we experience the physical pain, is after effect. It is when everything has happened and the energy is being released for that. And that's the energy of what already has happened. We are receiving that what we call pain. So as a scientist, working with the Center for Drug Research and Evaluation and pharmaceutical companies for years, I was actually part of the committee that we were coming with the NIH pharmaceutical and academic for new formula to ease the pain. I'm not going to go into that because in being in one of those meetings at NIH, that caused me to resign, because I saw how that is not the truth. It's just partial truth, and there's a big missing there. So that other missing for me was coming from an Eastern culture and as a woman, not having the opportunity to express what is true for me. I realized when I went deep to the heart, there is a different pain. The pain of not being seen, the pain of not being received, not being heard. And when I am not empowered, when I am being criticized, when I hold back either my loving or that which emerging in me, and I will just put a lid on the top of that withholding create physical pain in my body. So when I approach that, I learn to get to know the root of that pain and just to keep our face up, having this mask on, but is good and what is approval. So I get to see that the origin of that pain is truly what got my attention, and this understanding the potential of the human heart and the awareness of the feeling in that became my passion. And what I said, I want to spend the rest of my life in it, and then I left my career. Excuse me.
So, yeah. It's really helpful. So what you're speaking about is kind of the root of pain. And the root of pain when one isn't able to express oneself, to be empowered in oneself. And I think as you wrote in your writings, to be true to yourself, that is the pain. It's almost like what I'm hearing, if I understand it, it's like an existential pain, of that longing to be and express who we are. and something that I also, Nahid and I are both students or have studied with Barbara Marx Hubbard, and I heard Barbara express that I really liked when she was married with 5 children, and that she everything was going well in that way, but she was feeling depressed. Mm-hmm. And she realized, or came to the realization, that the reason for that is because she wasn't expressed. So kind of the cure of that was to be able to express more of your, one's unique reason and being. So that's what I hear in what you're saying. And it's such a beautiful understanding, because I think it's probably something that all of us.
I love what you said, Henry, about is existential. I have a feeling that there is an intention for a purpose for us being in this embodiment. And if we are not aligned with that purpose, we would never be content, fully content, and fulfilled in this lifetime. We do many other things to cover up for that, and partially satisfy momentary ourselves. And we have a free will to either choose to step into that. I remember when I was going to leave my scientific career, it's like I was in this vacuum. It's like, so who I am going to say that I am? Because that was fully my identity. But then something else has already opened up, that this got my attention, and that's why I want to leave what I was doing, because it was not serving that what I was up to. But so it's like letting go of that which we thought we are, what I thought I am, a Persian woman who became a professor, who became a scientist, who came to US, who did, and this is me. And then I have these experiences. I have a different experiences of this magnificent being who is here. So this was the question really, am I willing to pay the price? The price was everything that I became until that moment. Because I didn't know if I would leave that, what would I do? But it seems that I would have been leaving that, letting that go. I call it dying before dying, die before dying. So it looks like a death experience that I had to leave everything that I was and trust this vastness, which I had only glimpses of that, of this unknown, and jump into it. And that is, let me tell you, it is not an easy thing to do. And this is where I say that we need one another. We need the presence of another to hold the space for us. That we trust, we don't get lost, we don't disappear, we don't lose the control. We really, by letting what is not working in the past, becoming more of that. But when you are willing to do that and come to this present moment, you know what will happen? Now I can see that consciously I can choose everything from the past that has served me, that is at the service of the heart now. The mind and all my knowing, it is at the service of the heart now. Not the other way around. Mm. Not the mind would mask the pain in the heart, but it is that longing for becoming more aware of who you are, who I am. So I'm saying that I'm hearing the longing itself is the answer to the prayer. The longing itself, it is the boat that we ride and connect us to the ocean to get to the other shore.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes, I can feel a resonance and with your expression, your passion about this awakening that I see. And I also feel at this time with all the crises that are happening in the world that people are waking up to that distinction or even to the pain that of that not expressing who we are and what we're here for. So that's beautiful. Thank you. That's one thing I especially appreciate about you is being able to articulate the heart and to speak from that place that I especially appreciate in the heart resonance circles. And I think it's part of it is that you are open of being raised in the tradition that you speak about of the mystical of Hafiz and Rumi, and of how that is there as a resource for you on your journey.
Interesting.
And also, you wrote in some of your papers also that you were a dead scientist and then love showed up and your heart was awakened and you were inspired to share your findings with others, which is really beautiful. And maybe if you would say something about your time in Iran where you were set up those programs. I guess you mentioned that it was especially, or you found you were especially reaching women and the youth in the country in Iran, and maybe just share a little bit more about that, of how you were educating the heart and perhaps how you were expressing or sharing the importance of having someone kind of lead you into that, the entry into that place of the heart.
as you were speaking, I mean, just there is a flow. So I want to go back to how you started that. Being raised in the culture of, in the land of Rumi and Hafiz, it is a kind of a hidden potential that is already there. Because, I mean, there is a book of Hafiz and Rumi, Masnavi in every house. You know, that's what you hear all the time. I remember I was in US and I was in Maryland. I was going to FDA, and it was the time that I was in deep longing, and I had an hour to travel from going to work, and that was my time. I was listening to the traditional mystical music, which is all about the Rumis and Hafiz poetry, and I was crying deeply and sobbing in the car. That was my free time that I could express myself in the car, and I was driving. And all of a sudden, I don't know, it just was a moment that I realized what Rumi was talking about. Why? What he went through. It's like there was that aha moment. So for me, we're talking about articulation and speaking from this place. For me, as a scientist, I always, when I had to make a scientific presentation, I was a perfectionist. You know, I wanted to make it perfect, 10 different versions of that. But then there is a different place. It's like there are two different intelligence. We know it now. Then one is from the memory of the childhood, the schooling, learning, you know, and the things that makes us succeed in the world, and concept and the gathering of everything. And there is this other place. It is already complete and preserved inside of us, that it's like a spring overflowing. It's a spring box. It is in the center of the chest, that when that is awakened, the flow moves from within to out. And it's a different wording. What we learn comes to help us. But it's genuine. It's your own unique expression. And that always comes from the experience when you are connected to the source. So I don't have to be prepared. You know, I remember all these years in my teaching, while I have been preparing, or when I've been an hour on live TV program, this is my default. I cannot memorize even Persian poems. I mean, you can guess what would it be if it would be an English translation. So I always have few poems that I find that it is the essence of my talk. So that essence, one of those poems, I think I shared that maybe one time with you guys. There is a kiss. This is not the part of the poem, but there is a kiss that we all want. All our life. That's what we all long for. And it is the touch of a spirit on our body. I've been longing for that all my life. And eventually, I received that kiss in my dream, in a vivid dream, when I announce and declare that I am willing to let everything go. I received that kiss. And this is how Rumi, it says it. It says, the price of kissing. I would love to kiss you. It's like, this was my desire. And what I hear, the price of kissing is your life. And now my loving is running after my life. What a bargain, let's buy it. So that was really kind of set up my life journey. And I had to pay the price. And what I had to pay, which I call it death experience, I've gone through 3 of them, is truly letting go what is not working and trusting the source of what you are. And when I went to Iran, in my teaching, what I've been trying to communicate is to shift the focus from the thinking mind to the feminine heart. So when I went to Iran, I realized how hungry women, because they have done tremendous work. Every book has been translated in Farsi. And the youth, especially those who have gone through the college and they have no work. There's just, they are just going around. They don't know, lost, totally lost, not knowing what to do with themselves. They were so hungry for hearing something different. It's like in their menu, what it would have satisfied their taste. What I was offering, it was the only thing that they wanted, and they didn't have it. That's how I felt I was received. And it was such a fulfilling experience. And still, I am in connection with them. And we have Zoom classes, and they participate. The seeds that was planted 8 years ago is the settling has come on, and they are, it's just such a beautiful, satisfying, fulfilling, nurturing a space for me to watch that and be with them. So I wonder if I answered.
Yes. Yeah. Even more so. It sounds like that what you're sharing about the longing, and maybe even what I would connect with an inner knowing that there is more and that there is a better way.
And that more is calling you out.
Yes. And now that we have access to more possibilities via the internet, via communications, or are people sharing like what you're sharing today, that just opening to the voices and inviting through one other person or a group of people the space to open to those possibilities. And I want to somewhat connect that now with the heart resonance circles that we have been part of. And maybe even to, just in my thoughts in preparation for interviewing you, is to maybe if you would share some about your experience in the heart resonance circles and how that relates to the bridge or the connection between the mystic and maybe the scientist or the heart and the mind for you. So just to share a little about your experience of how the heart resonance process speaks through you or has influenced you.
I have to say that when I was guided for what I was looking for, the fulfillment in life. That is not in here. You need to look in here. And I went deep. This was my experience. That hidden mystic that had longing for something, that who had glimpses of it and knew about it. The scientist and the mystic, they met in the heart. That was the integration place. That was the realization where in my culture, in the Persian mystic, they say in the cavity of the heart, the divine resides. The light of the divine resides within the heart. So this is energetic heart, of course, and heart always in my world is really the fountain of the creative life force energy. And what we talk about in what we are trying to communicate in the heart resonance or on the internet, we are talking about that which is only a feeling. And there is this saying from Ramana Maharishi that has been one other things that has been a framework, if I say, for my life, that he says, feeling is a conscious presence rising beyond of thinking mind. So be the very presence, the feeling itself. So what we are creating in the heart resonance, it's just remind me, it's a kind of more of a remembrance of the moments that I am connected to that field in my own space or other spaces. Now I have the opportunity for connector in a kind of bigger domain. We call it field. But I get this experience that really, I mean, we all know it in a way, especially when we go in our personal experience out of the mind space. As I am the field, I am in the field. It's like I am held by the field and I am the field itself. It's like I get that is more of, this is in the first step for me, it is a personal, long affair with the heart, with ourselves. And then when we come in that place that others have come from that place, that is, for me, is the firework.
Is the fire, what?
Firework.
Fire.
Is the explosion.
Okay.
It's the celebration of the original light. That it is in our being and is illuminating through the heart.
Yeah. So thank you. So in our heart resonance circles, this is something I'm kind of sitting with and trying to understand it. We express it as the unified field of love sometimes, and it's been expressed as the unified field of consciousness that we enter into. And I think there are so many different names for it. For me, that I'm kind of exploring or in learning how to communicate about it. But I see that the field that we connect in, the heart field, is also, you could say it is the beloved. Or you could say we're in the field of the all in all, where we create a space that embraces the wholeness, that embraces or gives space for who we truly are to just rest and also to express. So it's great to hear your expression, or just the bringing, the merging together of the mystical, which I hadn't necessarily thought of this field as, but that's partly because we don't talk about the mystical so much in our Western culture. So
mystical is not it's every birthright for every human being. We all are born as mystic, and then it's been covered up, or as our mind is being developed. So it's just the interior of the exterior that the mind and the science and the external world. So it's like whatever longing, whatever pain we're going through, all those mistakes, all those have come to embody the light. They all have gone through that. I mean, this is the price. The price is giving the limited self, the limited mind, the knowing, to that which is a fountainhead, of just loving, and light. So, well, it's something that I am present saying that is a process that I have used in my own journey. I call it emptying oneself. But this emptying is emptying what already is for the newness to come. In the heart resonance field with others, what I experience is this is a different emptiness. It's not that the emptiness that I talk about, the pain and emptiness, and I was pretending that I'm full. This is the emptiness that is the original light arises from. There is a different emptiness that when we go to that heart resonance place together, everything passes. There is nothing there. And we all long for that emptiness within ourselves, which the fullness of life. And I definitely long to go to that emptiness together with you all in that circle, and even a wider circle of that. That is the source of the creative juice. Everything that we are, and it can express itself, and is beyond beauty.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I can feel the energy of that, and that's one of the things I really appreciate in your presence in the circle, is your ability to communicate in words, but especially to communicate through the heart. And, just opening, which I believe, and the popularity of Rumi's writings, especially here in the West, and Hafiz, is that communication through the heart, with the heart, and with the greater trueness of our beings.
I want to share something here, what you said, Henry. I remember when I was going through that deep longing for that which I didn't know what it is, but I just it was just deep pain in my heart and heavy and deep sadness. Sadness has been my beloved friend all my life. So when I was going through that, it's interesting. I was in a whirlpool and I was crying and I was just by myself. And I was asking Rumi this question. It's like, what is this? We went through this 800 years ago. What is this? And it's like, I don't know what being in the hot water would do with that. But I remember that what I was hearing was, that was when we did it, few of us, we came to that recognition. This is for all of us now. We all come to realize this now. And, in the water, like, I don't know how to say that in English, but Archimedes, Archimedes said, I found it when in the water was just recognizing the velocity of the water and the weight, what is the ratio. I was just jumping up and down with joy. That is like, now I know, fun. So, and to finish that conversation, it is what Rumi always says, is that our task, and my task has been to find love, but love, that now we know that I am. So my task is not to seek love, but actually to seek and find all the barriers that has within myself that have built against that love. This is our task now. So really there is nothing to educate the heart, but to educate the mind, to let the grips to be loose, and like a little kid, give it some kind of toys to play with and enroll it into the play. And I would add to that our task is to resolve those barriers that we have masked. And it's the first step is being willing to go into deep pain of the heart and willingly and celebrating that. That's the first step.
Yes, beautiful. So I realize I somewhat wanted to, I think we're stepping into, if I understand correctly, what Sham's consciousness is, but I think that may be for another conversation or another interview, because that's a doorway in itself. But I think you were, from what I understand, you were expressing about that in your communications, in your sharings today.
That is true. That is a conversation by itself. I think about 2005 or 6, I presented a paper at IONS, Institute for Nordic Sciences, and the title was Awakening Sham's Consciousness, Birthing Rumis. When I heard, the message was, it is the time for all of us together to arise.
Right.
So we need to become that Sham's consciousness, because Rumi before Shams was just a clerk, a religious person who has followers. He wasn't who we is still after 800 years. Is the message is relevant and we take it to the heart. But the presence of Shams and the consciousness that Shams was carrying make the clerk to be Rumi, the poet of the heart. So it's like, what does it take to be that? To hold a space for the Rumi within ourselves.
Yeah. So Go ahead.
And others, and others.
So basically, it's opening to step more fully into who we are, into the Rumi, into the truth of each of our hearts.
In whatever forms it present itself. So what I'm saying, I've been in this journey over 20 years now, actively. It's been my life. I'm not saying that I do not experience pain now. Now I know the gift of pain. So I willingly go there. The resistance, not always, the resistance has been minimized. Because what do we do with ourselves? We just keep, sabotaging ourselves when we do that, then we resist. Because it's like the inner, if somebody is knocking at the door, open the gate. Open the gate of life force energy. Open this. I am here to embrace you. The one inside that says, I am here to embrace you. And we don't let it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, thank you. Wow. I really feel like I've been immersed in this, in kind of a mystical seat with you, which opens me to deepening into that understanding and experience, and perhaps deepening into stepping into more fully who I am and embracing that. So I thank you so much, Nahid. So great to join with you, and perhaps we'll connect again to continue this conversation.
You are the creator of all of it, my love. You did initiate that, obviously, in this mirroring experience that we create. We just want to see ourselves. And this is something, a mantra that has been inside of me recently. It keeps saying, I love all my faces. I love all my faces. Thank you for initiating the conversation.
You're welcome.
Together.
Great. Have a beautiful rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Nahid.
Thank you.